You're back on the Real News. The phone number again is 704-873-1400. On air at therealnewsradio.com. The website's therealnewsradio.com. Check that out. It's going to be a real source of information. And I want to thank David Walker for joining us. People, that was very informative. And I want to thank Brian for getting that lined up on the air. That was in response to Doug's email for listening. And I want to go back to Brian, let him finish his blog, and then we've got some just staggering information. In the meantime, I want everyone to be guessing how many audio and videotapes has Osama bin Laden released since 9/11/01.
Thanks. Tuesday of this week, presidential candidate Senator John McCain said that Iranian operatives are, quote, taking al-Qaeda into Iran, training them, and sending them back, unquote. This is despite the fact that Iran is a Shiite nation and al-Qaeda are Sunni fighters. Responding to reports of McCain's factually inaccurate claim, the McCain campaign released a statement attempting to paint the senator's fundamental error as an isolated slip of the tongue. So either the senator is terribly uninformed, which of course is extraordinarily unlikely, or he is engaging in propaganda against Iran, a target for future military strikes by the United States.
Well, you know, Admiral Fallon resigned, and many have said that was the only person standing in front of us going into Iran, which I think may well be on the plate, unfortunately. But Admiral Fallon's resignation got very little airtime in the mainstream media, but he said under his watch there would not be an invasion of Iran, and he is gone, and I think that's one reason you see McCain making these kind of statements. The media this week was reporting that Osama bin Laden had released another tape, an audio tape, while believed to be in the rugged mountains of the Pakistan or Afghanistan mountains, where Osama bin Laden rants about the Pope and the cartoons printed in European papers. He seems to be a very well-informed fellow. I decided to look into how many tapes Osama had released since 9/11/01, and would anyone out there like to make a guess? Because I asked everyone here in the studio before we did this, and everyone seemed to be amazed. According to Reuters news agency, and I have them here in chronological order, 27 videos and audio tapes. I started looking into this a little deeper. The pictures they show of this area he's believed to be living in is extremely rugged, and according to the FBI, he has to have a kidney dialysis machine. So while on the run, one step ahead of the gigantic U.S. military machine, bin Laden obviously is carrying a complete audio and video studio, along with computers and internet service. Can anyone explain to me how in one video, right before the election, he was indoors, in front of a podium, clean, with new clothes, very well groomed, but yet he can't be found? So in 80 months, he has released 27 tapes. That's one every 3 months. And in a recent picture, he had dyed his beard. Must have happened to cross some just for men in that barren wilderness. So I'd like to hear your opinion on this. We can shoot satellites in space from ships on Earth with deadly accuracy, but we can't find this man who taunts us with his latest release every 3 months. I think this might be some extremely good food for thought. Again, the phone number is 873-1400 if you'd like to call in before we go off the air today, and we'll be covering the poll, and we've got some email. Jim Rogers called for Bernanke's resignation. Top investor continues to rail against the Federal Reserve. Top investor Jim Rogers has publicly called for the Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke to resign, blaming him for destroying the dollar and bailing out his friends on Wall Street at the cost of the American taxpayer. In the latest savage attack on the Fed amidst the latest round of economic turmoil. I think the Fed should be abolished. We all would be better off without the Fed. In my view, their day is come and gone, said Rogers during an appearance on CNBC yesterday. Rogers pointed out that concerns over a vacuum of power were trite, considering America had successfully lived without a central bank before, and the two first central banks collapsed. Asked if Bernanke should resign, Rogers responded, he should be fired. We can't fire him. Unfortunately, he's under the terms of his contract. He's there for another 12 years. I think eventually things are going to get so bad we're going to get rid of him one way or the other. Rogers said that the Federal Reserve mandate was to protect the dollar, but the Fed was letting the dollar collapse and filling the Federal Reserve balance sheets with a bunch of garbage. Despite the fact that Rogers admitted he was still making money due to his heavy investment in commodities, he said that he didn't approve of what the Fed was doing. Rogers has been on a crusade over the past few weeks, slamming the Federal Reserve with every opportunity that he gets. We have got an email. Hey, Farron, the truth is out there, and I'm doing my part to reconstruct this guy's work. But it can't be taxed, so guess what happened to this guy? There's a lot of stuff on YouTube about him. Check it out. I think he had government backing as well to power Army tanks this way. Okay, Craig, I appreciate that. I appreciate you corresponding with us. You are actually the first email that we ever got live and got to read on the air, so I appreciate that. Feel free to correspond with us anytime. And in light of the fact that we just saw the 5-year anniversary of the invasion of Iraq, I wanted to give you some information that you may not know. It comes 5 years and 1 million plus lives too late, but in an exhaustive review of more than 600,000 Iraqi documents captured after the 2003 United States invasion of Iraq, it has found no evidence Saddam Hussein's regime had any operational links with al-Qaeda terrorist networks. You remember the chorus of Rumsfeld, Bush, and Colin Powell constantly before we invaded Iraq. In addition to the fairy tale about al-Qaeda, we endured another debunked fallacy, that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. Recall Bush's speech in Cincinnati in October 2002 when he ominously warned America must not ignore the threat gathering against us. Facing clear evidence of peril, we cannot wait for the final proof, the smoking gun that could come in a mushroom cloud, scaring the American people. President Bush and his aides used Saddam's alleged relationship with al-Qaeda, along with Iraq's supposed weapons of mass destruction, as an argument for invading Iraq after September 11, 2001 terror attacks. Then Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld claimed in September 2002 that the United States had bulletproof evidence of cooperation between the radical Islamic terror group and Saddam's secular dictatorship. Then the Secretary of State Colin Powell cited multiple linkages between Saddam and al-Qaeda in a watershed February 2003 speech to the United Nations Secretary Council to build international support for the invasion. Almost every one of the examples Powell cited turned out to be based on bogus or misinterpreted intelligence. I'm not coming on here and making this kind of stuff up. I hate it happens to be the real news, but that's why I'm reporting it to you, because the people need to know that the government misled us deeply to get us into this quagmire of a war, both in respect to the economics of it and the loss of life. It's unacceptable to me for my government to give me this kind of misrepresentation. They should be held to a higher standard. So if you want to call us, 873-1400. Again, our email is therealnewsradio.com. And we got some email last week, and every week, as long as I can, I want to correspond to it. Candace wrote, I like the show. We listen each week. I'm very disgusted with the government concerning immigration and the economy. Keep telling it like it is. Well, Candace, thanks, and don't worry. Until the government changes and quits selling out our children's future, I will be addressing the complete incompetence each week. We had an email from Troy 1B4. I've listened to your program, and I like what you're saying. Don't trust the mainstream media. Why don't you tell the listeners about the weapons of mass destruction? Well, Troy, I've intended to, with only 3 shows, I just haven't got there yet. It's actually in my folder, and we did do some of it today, but we're going to go into it a little deeper. But yes, it was a lie perpetrated by the government, and then, of course, that followed by, obviously, a non-investigating media with this huge budget for intelligence. They fed us this misrepresentation